Well, now that our house has sheathing on the walls, the exterior walls, it's time to put plywood on the roof as well. I just want to show you how the sheathing went on the walls. You'll notice that on the end walls, I ran the sheathing all the way down to the foundation and then put the other partial sheets up on top on the gable so that it covers up the plate where the gable and plate come together, that hinge point. So it makes it stronger that way. Over here, I just ran them up to the top and ran a small piece down along the bottom. You could do it either way. This way, you don't have to put additional blocking in the house. If you put these sheets on the bottom and then ran the extra piece on the top, you'd have to put blocking all the way across the house. There would need to be some blocking in here in the garage. If you did it this way, you can see where the plywood seam is. Building codes would require that you have blocking in back of that. Okay, but not for this class. That's something we'd have to do if we were building it full scale. Okay, so there's the sheathing. Now we need to put sheathing on the roof. I'm going to start with this corner right here, the roof, because that's going to be the hardest part to do because we're going to have an interesting angle cut for our valley here. And so first thing I need to do is make the plywood. And so I'm going to create a sheet of plywood, and I'm going to make it 48 inches by 96 inches. Okay, so 4 by 8. There's my plywood. I've got two other sheets, but this was 3/4 inch for the floor. This was 7/16 for the side, for the plywood on the side. And I'm going to make plywood for the roof, which is going to be 5/8 inch. And so I'm going to use my push-pull tool and pull up, and I'm going to go 5/8, put 5/8 of an inch thick. Okay, that's typically what we'll use for the roof. We'll use 3 different sizes of plywood on the building. Okay, and then I'm going to do like I've always done, and I'm going to call it a group or make it a group. And then I'm going to paint it, and I think I'll paint it the old plywood color again, just to separate and make them a little different. Okay, so there's my 5/8 inch plywood. Now I need to start putting it on the roof. When we set it on the roof, we're going to start where we started our layout. So for example, on this side of the roof, I'm going to put it on this, from this corner over. And just, I guess as an example, I can kind of show what we're going to do there. So I'm going to highlight this, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it. And then I'm going to, I'll have to turn it because it's going the wrong way. Okay. And then I've got to move it. So I'm going to grab that bottom corner there. And I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to set it on the corner of the house right there. Okay, now, obviously it's not sloped correctly. It's flat. So now we need to fix the slope. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the rotate tool. Okay, I want to get right in on the corner. Make sure I've got it at the right place. Doesn't look like I do. I want, oh yeah, it does. Okay, so that's the top of the 2x4. I want that corner sitting right on that corner there. Okay, then I'm going to use the rotate tool. And the rotate tool is found under move. And you click on rotate. And then I want to rotate this corner right here. Sometimes it's really hard to get I want to rotate that one. I'm going to come across the bottom of the sheet of plywood and click again. And then I can rotate it up. And I can put it right on the top of that rafter. See how it rotates up and becomes the same slope as the roof? Now, once I have that piece in place like that, now I can put other sheets of plywood on. Now, the plywood has to end at the center of a truss. Okay, so we would be cutting this one off. If this were out in the field, we would run this side to the center of this truss and then cut off the end. Being as the end is correct over here, I'm just going to shorten this side up a little bit. But before I do that, I want to get a copy of it in that orientation. That way, I've got another one all ready to go. If I cut it first, then I won't be able to copy a full 4x8 sheet. So I'm going to double click on that piece, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can get a view of that end. I'm going to use my push-pull tool. I'm going to push that end back to it's going to be the center of that truss, if I can find the center of the truss, the midpoint. And if I can't find the midpoint exactly, then I'm just going to leave it somewhere super close. Okay, so that's really close to being the midpoint of that truss. So now I've got my first sheet of plywood on. I can get my second sheet here and snap that top, come over here and set it down next to the one I just put on here. Okay, and then the next sheet would go so that it was splitting that spacing up here, so it would stagger over the joint of the plywood. So I can just decide which way I want to do this. This doesn't actually look. I want to check something on this plywood. Okay, come over here. No, it's 8 feet. Okay, because we've got 2, 4, 6, 8. This is not. Oh, maybe it's just because it's down so far. I've got to bring it up where it's up on the top. There we go. Well, that really looked weird, didn't it? Okay, so I'm going to find the top of that. And I want this plywood to come down and be right on the center of that truss, or as close to the center as I can get it. Okay, this is becoming a little more difficult than I'd hoped for, but just to give you some hope that it's not just you, right, that have trouble with it sometimes. Okay, so I set that piece of plywood right there at that joint. Now it's on the center of that truss. It's at the center of this truss. Okay, it staggers the joint. And then I can put a small piece here, put another larger piece here, and then I can just stair step this all the way over and sheet my whole roof. What I want to do is I want to put a piece of plywood over here on this side and show you how this is done. This is a little more difficult. I want to copy that and paste it over here. Then I want to turn the plywood this way. And then I want to move the plywood by getting a hold of the bottom of the sheet. And I want to set it up here where it intersects that corner, the intersection of these two rafters here. That's where I want it to be. Okay. Problem is I don't want that piece to be there. All right, let me fix this here. Oh no, that's the right one. That's the right one. I was looking like it was going the wrong direction. Okay, so I'm going to set it right there, right at that intersection. Okay, now I need to rotate it again. And so I get out to the side here where I can see the side, click on the rotate tool. So it's the move and then rotate. I click on that corner, I come across the bottom, click again, and then rotate it up to the top of the rafter. Okay, like that. Now I've got the plywood in the right place, but as you can see, it's not going to intersect that truss that way, right? It's not going to run through that truss. It's going to run across the top and then down to the corner. So I'm going to have to draw a line It's going to come from, let's see, first thing I want to do is double click on the piece so that I'm editing the piece of plywood. Then I'm going to draw a line from here, and I'm going to go right up the valley to there. And then I want to go across the plywood. I'm still drawing the line, so I want to go all the way across to the far side. Right there. Okay, let's see if I got it right. Now I'm going to use my push-pull tool, and I want to come to this side and push that down where it disappears. Okay, now what I've got is I've got the plywood cut correctly. Well, it's almost correctly. I mean, it sits right where it's supposed to sit on the top. So we have the valley, 45 here, and we're up here, so that when we come to the other side of the roof over here, it'll come back down and be a full 4 feet, and we'll have a continuous line across this point. And at that point, we will put another piece of plywood, so we stagger the seams and then just fill in the rest of it. So I did put that plywood in place, so I probably should have copied it first, okay, like I did on the other side. So copy, paste. Now I've got to do the whole thing again because I didn't copy it when it was in place. So put it like this. I'm going to go and I'm going to snap on the bottom corner. I'm going to bring it up to the roof just so that I know where it needs to be. Okay. I'm going to snap that right down there at that intersection. And then I'll rotate it. If you do this right, you only have to rotate it once. Obviously, I didn't do it right, but that's okay. That's how we learn how to run this thing. I'm going to snap on the corner, snap on the edge, and then rotate it up to where I'm parallel with the roof. Now I have one in where it's supposed to be, and now I can copy that one. Okay. So it's the right shape, it's the right angle. I can just highlight it, copy, paste, and I can bring another sheet in. Now on this one, to do the next sheet over, I'm going to click on the top, and I'm going to snap it to the top of this one. I want them to be the same, right? I want them to line up right across the roof like that. And then I just cut off the bottom because right now it's running through, excuse me, it's running through the girder truss. And so I just need to cut off the bottom again. So I double click on it. I use a line and I select this point. Then I run it all the way over to the other end. And then come out, hit my push-pull tool. Oh, I've got to get out where I can see it. There it is. Use my push-pull tool, and I push that back where it disappears. And now I have the plywood running where it needs to go, okay, all the way across. I'm using this for reference. Okay, I'm going to remove this sheet eventually to provide ventilation through the two pieces of the roof, but for now I'm just leaving it in place so that I have a reference where that piece needs to go. And then I'll do this last one here. This video is a little bit longer than the other ones because there's a little more work putting this plywood on. Okay, so then I put this one in place. Now I can cut it over here on the end just like I cut the other one and put another sheet. So I'm just going to paste another sheet right here. Okay, now I'll draw that line and I'll cut those pieces out, and then I can just continue. See how this plywood is right where it's supposed to be here? It's exactly a 4-foot sheet, and we maintain this line the same all the way across. Then we can stagger the other sheets and fill in the rest of the roof.